Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the Amateur Otaku Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Isak Wolff, and joining me today is my good friend from Geekly Goods, Leo Rydel. How's it going, bud?
Hey, what's going on, Isaac? Great to be chatting with you again. Some more MHA, man. Yeah, we're kind of taking a step
Yeah,
in the past here with the first movie.
yeah,
It's been a while with this one,
yeah,
so it was nice to revisit.
yeah. Some of you might wondering why aren't we covering the Academia chapter for this week? Well, uh, Mike weren't able to join us, so we said, well, we wait for him and do that with him.
Yeah, feel better,
So
Mike.
feel better, Mike. So, but I didn't want to. We wanted to have something to fill the spot. So we thought, why not a My Hero Academia movie? And
Yeah.
since neither Crunchyroll or Wakamin has all of the movies, well, Two Heroes was the one we picked. And correct me if I'm wrong, but what season does this movie pick up from again?
I
Is
think
it
this was after season 2, if I'm not mistaken.
is it because well, a synopsis. Deku is flying with All Might to what is essentially a worldwide Comic Con of superheroes, where he meets All Might's partner in crime, where he was while he was in America, and during a visit, something happened that makes, forces the hand on doing superhero stuff yet again. That's the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
uh, but when was it the first time you watched it? If we go about that, since I think we can do somewhat of spoiler territory, since this movie isn't it like 4 years old now?
Yeah. I mean, it came out a little while ago here. I'm actually Googling it right now. It came out in 2018. It feels like it was longer than that. But yeah, since it's been out for a couple years, yeah, I feel like we can definitely dance into spoiler territory. But the first time I saw it was probably, I want to say like 2019, maybe like a year after it came out, because that's when I had started really getting into My Hero Academia. But I remember first seeing this movie, and I think that it might be, out of the 3 My Hero Academia movies, I think it's the least rewatchable. And not that it's a bad movie by any means. I still think it was a very pleasurable, great experience, just like most My Hero Academia episodes and movies are. I just think if you go backwards sometimes, it's kind of like a little weird, because you're like, wow, like as a manga reader and even caught up on the anime, like Deku is so much like more progressed in his abilities. So like going back and like,
Yeah,
oh wow, I have to remember like he's still like All Might is still around and active, sorta, and he's still like really getting a lot of help from the classmates, because the last My Hero Academia movie I saw was World Heroes Mission, where it was pretty much Deku and one other character for most of the time, Rosie Soul. So it definitely is like you have to put your mind back into the beginning of My Hero Academia when we have come so far. But it's still a good,
yeah,
enjoyable experience.
yeah. I think I saw it also around 2019, somewhere around that. I can't remember where and how though, but I saw it then, and even though it is the least rewatchable, I would say that it's a fast way to introduce people to My Hero Academia to some extent. If
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, because they talk about the whole his origin and all that, yeah, in the beginning, like we know, and to, but then. But then again, I would still say that watch the series from the beginning, even if this is a good. You can argue that this is somewhat of a recap special in terms of the series as a whole, in one aspect, but at the same time revisiting more of All Might, lore of All Might, which didn't you say bring us a prequel, young All Might prequel miniseries?
Yes, please. I feel like this quick little sequence we got with young All Might, if we could just get like 4 or 5 episodes following this trajectory, I would love it. I don't think it necessarily needs to be like a whole My Hero Academia series or even Vigilantes in length, but like if you just wanted to do like a 4-part OVA or something of even just like All Might first getting it, then maybe like handling this episode in an episode where he does save everyone like this in young in a youth form, and then lead up to other things. Like I just kind of feel like you could easily have a 4-part OVA of like all the things that he has mentioned in his young life and just present that in an anime or a quick OVA and then be over with it. I don't think you need to make a full My Hero Academia, but I feel like we're all interested in seeing some more All Might, you know?
Yeah. Honestly, to some extent, I'm surprised that they haven't done a prequel spin-off manga, so to speak, considering the popularity of the character and, you know, the Shonen Jump owns, or should I say publisher in manga, and anime studios in general likes to milk the franchise, so to speak, in some regard. And wouldn't a young story of All Might make sense in that regard? I mean, I love me some Vigilantes, but it's clear it has clearly not gotten the same wow status as I would say that a young All Might series would do, even if it's
100%.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking the same thing. Like as I was thinking about that, I was like, okay, I think this could be something that could keep the popularity strong. As opposed, I like Vigilantes, and I actually have been enjoying it so far. About 4 chapters in now, but I think a young All Might series would have a lot more interest than Vigilantes if you did an anime.
Yeah. And then there is also the problematic aspect of Vigilantes, and basically that every other character looks like they're some homage slash from other work of media, but that's another story for another day. Me and Mike talked it over one of the My Hero Vigilantes episode, but I'll link to that in the description of what we are talking about. Anyway, but I don't. Let's start from the beginning. This is when how should I put it? When it starts, it comes out across as well. It's just gonna be All Might and Deku in there, but then of course we get introduced to the other students in most of the other classmates, and I was just gonna ask you this because I was thinking back to an episode of the anime that we covered earlier. I don't know if you were on that episode yet, but you remember when Bakugo downright chastising them to you're not doing a good job in keeping a low profile with each other and all that jazz. You remember that episode?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking there to myself, All Might is personally inviting him, them going together. Wouldn't it have been a better plot point if he it was a sort of like a class trip?
Yeah,
wouldn't have to
because
slow down the movie.
Yeah, because I almost feel like I like that the class came in because I was like, okay, I'm glad. When I first watched the movie, I was like, oh man, are we not gonna get Class 1A? Like, I would be down if it was just Deku and All Might. That'd be fine. But they did bring them in, and it just kind of had to like force these explanations as to why they're all there. They all made sense and it all worked out in the end. But yeah, you could have just had All Might take all of them as opposed to just being like, oh, like I'm just here with Deku and it's a secret. And I mean, they're playing around with the Deku Uraraka romance with that one as well. Like they all bump into him and what are you doing, Deku? And he's hanging out with another girl. But I just think for time's sake, yeah, they could have just all went with them. I don't really know why it was like the secret. Oh, it's just us, and then everybody else shows up. But hey, you know what? I'm glad they got 1A in anyway, because I was kind of worried, and I think that's one gripe I had with the recent movie is there's not enough Class 1A, and I think that this one did the opposite and really brought them in and made them an important part of the movie.
Yeah. It's also, like you said, it kind of slows the movie down, which honestly is, I wouldn't say it's a major gripe of mine, but if you know that you're forced to explain why it's all there, it just something you should maybe you'd have approached it differently. But then again, at least they, like you said, gave a solid explanation. Unlike a certain Pokemon movie I saw back then, where they went on a, you can almost call it a, you can it could be a Aladdin style movie with a specific Pokemon. I'm not going to go into further detail, but what they do the next scene after the legendary bad guy wakes up, oh, out of nowhere, his friends is there in the neighborhood just for the sake of it, and it's just they don't nothing more than that. I'm just so, but hey, at least their inclusion here makes sense, even if it just, why couldn't you just have a class trip? Maybe it was because of comedic effect with the whole, like you said, wanting to keep it secret, and because they talk about it so much, but everyone else notices that they are together all the time. So I don't know, but no matter what, why did they have to include Minetta in this movie? I mean, come on.
You didn't want Class 1A?
Yes, Minetta, I'm not a fan of that character.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I kind of hope by the end, like they, clean that character up a bit. Like at this point in time,
yeah,
it's time to clean that up. Like in modern times, a character like that is just still not comforting. Let's just say that.
Yeah, that's I know that you know that I hate Zenitsu, but at least he isn't also a big. Sure, he loves beautiful women and all that. In terms of perviness, he doesn't go on my nerve of that regard. If you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
So there is that, at least. I don't think Minetta is going to be in the live action movie if that ever happens, but that's besides the point. But I would argue, I was just going to ask you, is there any specific highlights for you outside of the, if I have to guess, the prequel scene with the young All Might?
Yeah, I mean definitely the end. I mean, Deku and All Might running together and Melissa, like seeing them and seeing that physical passing of the torch is like really, really astounding. And even just the animation from when Deku and Melissa reach the roof to the end of the movie is so sharp and dynamic. And I love the action set pieces in that specific sequence because it's drawn so cool, and Deku and All Might have such sharp outlines as they're dashing across these cement and metal formations that the villain is using. I love that animation. It's so colorful. It's so wild, yet also at the same time sharp and cool. And it's just cool to see a quirk used in that way. And I really, really like that sequence a lot. I like the students getting to get their own moments, which is so cool about this show is that everybody in the movie gets their own moment. Kaminari using his electric lightning to shut down some of the robots, and then Ida coming in and using his super speed, and Bakugo and Kirishima. I really, really like that these movies and the anime series just gives all these characters a moment. Even if they're not Deku, they still all get to have that one shining moment where they feel like the center of the story. And I love it, man. I love it. So a lot of the stuff toward the end and when the villain things start happening, really, really intriguing. Some of the stuff in the middle could be cut down. Again, we had already mentioned it, but Class 1A coming in, that could have been cut down. Some of the stuff in the middle is just a little forgettable and just, but that's movies in general. So I don't hate it per se, but you know, there's always fat to the meat. So.
Yeah. And it's interesting to talk about the whole, all the classmates get their time to shine. Because, considering, correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't Horikoshi said that the Bleach kind of influenced him in his writing, or at least he has some form of connection with Oda. I know.
That wouldn't surprise
Oda.
me, considering how Bleach handles their characters and how they also do the same with their storytelling. Especially when you're in the Soul Society, like Hitsugaya and those other and a lot of other Shinigami get tons of moments to themselves.
Because I know that Horikoshi did honoring Bleach art in honoring of Bleach's 20th anniversary.
God, which wait for that to come back.
Yeah, me too. It's just it's arguably one of my most anticipated stuff for this year. But I do agree with you. It's probably one of the things that, going back to the whole also World Series mission, that that movie lacked, honestly. Because, well, this isn't that Isak, I don't know what you can call it if it was only about Deku, but it is not just him. It's he had. It is not called Deku like it is, or Naruto. Okay, insert obvious Naruto reference here as always. But it's not just called Deku or Midoriya. It's called My Hero Academia. Mm-hmm. So I argue. So again, it's a good point that every time everyone gets their time to shine. But again, I just wish that they could just on a class. Hey, I'm taking you with me on this if you all want to. But then again, but then again, Invisible Girl, Minetta. Det var inte Minetta. What's the girl that always teasing Uraraka about Deku?
Oh, earphone jack.
Yeah. No. She has poison as. She has poison as her.
Oh, the acid breath.
Girl?
Yeah. I forgot her name. I'll be honest. There's so many characters. I'm like, ooh, I cannot remember.
Yeah, but now that I think about it, also, they don't have every character here, so maybe they didn't want to stall for time on that regard. Because
maybe
they
so.
lack the big about 4 or I think it was 4 students exactly.
Yeah, because remember the rock paper. Some of the girls won a rock paper scissors, and so Suyu, Invisible, and Acid all got left behind.
Yeah, And then we had the Sugar Man, and
Yeah,
he was
and the tape,
always talked
the
about
tape
Sugar Daddy.
guy.
Yeah, and Taylor. So it was more than 4 and 5. So. But not everyone is there, so maybe it's because of that they didn't have a class stuff, because they didn't have time for giving everyone some spotlight. I don't know, but it just doesn't make any sense that he would take him alone if they don't want to be have suspicion about them all, and people suspect something. That just doesn't make any sense for me. But like I said, it's a pet peeve of mine. Maybe it's so. But what's if you're talking about so we talk about highlights. What is most disappointing for you when it comes to this movie?
I think for me, it's not necessarily disappointing. It's just kind of like you have to place yourself back into the beginning of My Hero Academia, because where I'm currently at, like, Deku's much more powerful, and even just stepping out of the third movie where he was able to take on Fleck Turn alone is a much different Izuku Midoriya than here, where he couldn't quite save Dr. Shields, and All Might still has that symbol of peace. He hasn't done United States of Smash, passed things on the Deku. You kind of have to place yourself back into an earlier part of My Hero Academia. It's the same with Naruto, Bleach. You go back to the older movies, you have to place yourself back into an earlier mindset. And so sometimes I get some gripes because I'm like, come on, Deku should be able to do this alone, but I have to remember he can't even get past 30% yet. So you have to like mentally place yourself back in. Also, the 1A stuff, like we were saying a little bit earlier, they could have just been on the trip together. I don't think you really needed to make them like pop up and all this hoo-ha and introducing everybody again. But that's really it. It's a fun movie, and I think even though I really, really enjoy this movie, it is the weakest out of the three, but it's still a fun and enjoyable movie. And I love the physical appearance of passing the torch when you see Deku and All Might running in that frame together. It's just really cool. It's like, oh, okay, like All Might's in his last steam, but he's going to use that with his protege and then pass that torch on to him. Really cool to see. I liked it a lot. I think it's fun, but yeah, just some of the 1A stuff, some things just could have been cut or rewritten, but all in all, an enjoyable experience. What about you?
Yeah, I'm sort of like the same with you on that regard. It just, but all, I don't know. It just, I think, I don't know. It just, how should I put it? I don't think the one hiring the bad guys. I don't know if it's just me overlooking things, but you know the twist and all it kind of doesn't make sense for me that he would be the one that hiring them. Or am I wrong about that? But it's
what's that? My fault.
the whole
the hiring thing. Yeah, okay, you're right. Because now that you bring this up, I did think that was a little messy. Like when it was like, okay, he like hired them so you get the case, and then he wanted to give that back to All Might. I think the intentions were there, but I think it was just a little poorly handled. And I think what was weird is like the villain had a hairstyle similar to All Might, and they never went anywhere with that. I was like, okay, was he like a fan? Is he trying to be an anti All Might? Like, because remember they like show a back shot of him toward the beginning of the movie, and he's got like brown hair, and it looks like All Might's. I'm like, oh, he's got the two like twizzles of the hair that stick up like All Might, and I'm like, oh, I guess they just didn't want to go anywhere with that. I think he's also the weakest villain too, not in terms of physical abilities, but in terms of like written, he just kind of is like shoved and forced in there, feels like, as opposed to even
Yes.
Fleck Turn. The movie starts with Fleck Turn, and it's all his plan. And then the second movie, you basically have an all-for-one carbon copy, but at least he has presence in the movie. This villain kind of just like pops up in the beginning and then pops up during the plan, and that's it.
Yeah, it could have been. They wouldn't. I mean, it makes sense what a villain would want to have that device and all that. Yes, but it doesn't make sense on who would hiring them. Let's say that it comes out that All for One or Shiggy hired them, so to speak. Then that would make much more sense in my regard, if you know what I mean, because I don't say that this movie gets instantly bad because of the whole twist, so to speak. But it just that little factor could have done so. But okay, that makes sense. Or maybe it just was a random thug that heard of a device for insert reason here. If you get what I mean.
Yeah. I think you're completely on the right track there. It's just a plot device feel, and I think they could have dug deeper into that villain. And maybe I almost thought, like, when I first saw him, I was like, maybe he's an obsessed All Might fan. I would have liked something kind of like that, like, oh, I've been obsessed and following your career for a long time, and this is why I wasn't going to work with Dr. Shields in the first place, even though he asked me, or something like that. Like, give this villain an angle. He just kind of appears and is like, hey, I'm actually here to get the briefcase. Okay, here I am. And it's like, oh, okay, we don't even know who you are. We don't know your motivations. Just kind of a mustache twirly insert villain here type.
Yeah. But also, I need to ask you. Maybe he could have been All Might's long lost brother, or in the name of Shoto, secret love child. I
Yeah,
don't know.
what the?
But yeah, so, I mean, I can't blame him to ask Deku that, but all things considered, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But
Also, I wanna real quick drop a little thing I noticed. And this is for the people who want to ship Shoto and Yaoyorozu. Definitely can feel where y'all are coming from, because when he bursts in to help Bakugo and Kirishima against those villains, he like pushes them up on the ice and they're looking directly at each other. And he's like, don't worry, I'll be there in a minute. And I'm like, they definitely have some kind of romantic connection, or a connection past beyond just being friends, at least.
I mean, also he was he downright said that he was the one. I don't know how many voted for her, but he downright admitted that he voted for her for the class president when they teamed up against Eraserhead. So, did you remember that?
Yeah.
So something is clearly going on there. Although it's
there's a little bit more.
Yeah, but the most obvious one that specifically the Bones is pushing, well, it's Deku and the Rocket, that's for certain. It's not even subtle at this point.
Yeah, it's really not. I'm like, okay, it's not subtle at this point.
Yeah, but I was just thinking about that when we considering this movie is canon for a reason I won't mention, for in case you're anime only and haven't read the manga. That's the only thing I won't spoil. Do you think we could see the doctor and his doctor and his daughter in this franchise moving forward? Because we haven't seen them as of yet. But there is a.
Yeah, I want to see them again. I don't know why we haven't seen them. Like, I would love if Melissa was the one to build Deku a new suit.
Yeah, going what is it? What do you say about poetry? It all goes like you know what they say about Star Wars with poetry and all goes around comes. You get what I mean.
Yeah, I follow you.
So, yeah, because if that aspect of this movie gets canonized, what is to say that they can't reuse other threads in the manga? Like I said, we want to speak about what that part
Right,
is
right.
for the manga only, it was anime only. You that read the manga knows exactly what I'm talking about, but don't put it in the comment section. But
I'm
I
with
was
you
just
there. I'm like, if you can take one aspect, why not do the whole movie?
yeah. Also, I would say, there was also something I was thinking about. Do you think, looking back also at Heroes Rising, with of what I remember, do you think this was a sort of this review is all over the place? I apologize, but just some of the stuff I just points I come up with. But do you think this was a? Can you see? No, I was just thinking if you can see where they learn from the movie about how to structure it better or worse when it comes to Heroes Rising. But then again, I just thought that's a episode for Heroes Rising whenever we covering that.
Oh, are you asking if I think this is better or worse or?
I was just thinking if you can see the blueprints on what they learned with Heroes Rising, because in Heroes Rising, because there is I would argue that there is some of the blueprints in how they structure the plot in from what I remember. Like I said, I haven't seen that in quite some time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just want to say that I think even though this movie is the weakest of the bunch, it's gonna be hard to top Heroes Rising. Like that movie has such an emotional ending, I think, and even this one's got a little bit at the heartstrings. But man, Heroes Rising, I think that was just their perfect formula. It's gonna be hard to touch.
Yeah, I think I personally prefer Will Heroes Mission, but I'm a little bit biased on on that regard. Maybe I don't know, but
Wait,
the
what's your
Road to Soul
bias, if you don't
character,
mind me asking?
I'm a big bro.
Mm, okay, yep, I understand.
Yeah, so that might not be biased. It's just so a social situation, and then also well,
Hmm.
insert Shaman's plug. We have an interview with the English voice actor of Road to Soul. So there's that. Ryan Ryan is a really sweetheart that you all should check out his Twitter handle. So, but yeah, insert Shaman's plug. But I was. I don't think we can really say. Do you have anything else you want to point out about the movie?
I just think it would be really cool if Melissa made Deku's next suit just like her dad made for All Might. I think that would be, if they want to reintroduce these characters into canon, that would be the best way to do it.
Yeah, I mean it's probably gonna be Hatsum and that makes it, but I'm with you. It would be pretty much next generation things like this clearly is building up towards. I mean, this series though, it's all about the second generation to some extent, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but
No,
well,
I think you're on track.
yeah, but well, I don't really have much to say here myself other than what you said. I hope they return to the manga in some capacity, or at the very least another movie.
I mean,
who is
come
to
on,
say that?
give us Melissa back. She was cool.
Agreed. And I love the confusion of Deku thinking that was the friend he wanted to meet at first, with his whole being the shy geek that he once was. I won't say the reason why I say he was, but oh well. But Leo, what have you cooking up over at Geekly Goods?
So this week we got quite a bit coming out. I will have a Big Hero 6 video. I just watched that for the first time, so that's fun. Still covering Superman and Lois, and also covering Naomi and Peacemaker. So a lot of superhero content coming out on Geekly Goods, guys. Come on over, because there's not a lot of movies coming up for a little while. So yeah, going to be covering some TV. Come on over on Geekly Goods on YouTube.
Yeah, and well, you can find my work over at Wobum Entertainment, and next week we are covering the My Hero Academia chapter in this week's chapter and the next, and hopefully, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but we are going to cover the next episode of Attack on Titan. Hopefully, with Brandon also joining in tomorrow. He is feeling better, so
good.
And we are planning on doing. Hopefully we're starting Dororon and doing the Pokemon I Choose You soon. So, but with that said, and well, you can find me over at Emblemaniac, and you can find the pod at Demeter Pod. You have pushed your handle, Leo. I'm so off right now.
Yeah. Come on over to Geekly Goods on YouTube, and then you can come over on any other social media platform, including Letterboxd, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Leo Rydel GG.
Yeah. Have it awesome, guys.
Have it awesome.
Peace.